Just count on it something that you don't like.
Right. Okay, we're live, it looks like.
All right. Um, I see
There
Eric
we
in
go.
there and Cyber Yak
We actually, if
and
you've come to
Thomas
any
is
of
here
these
again.
previous live streams, everybody, you'll be amazed that this is actually working on YouTube.
Yeah, we've been having some troubles.
Yeah.
But we're good to go. Okay. We don't need to record it on our end, do we? Or should we?
Might as well.
Okay.
Hey, can you switch it on YouTube where it will have all three of us up there instead of bouncing
Let's see.
between?
Let me try that. How's that?
It's always kind of jarring to me that when
When
it
it
does that.
bounces.
Yeah. 'Cause it's like somebody's not even on screen all of a sudden, boom, they just show up.
Yeah.
Mm.
There we
Like
go.
if you go, and then they're just there for that.
Right. It's just a reaction.
There
Okay,
you
we
go.
got
All
all
right.
three of us on here.
Let's do this then. Let's dive
Thank
in.
you for choosing the Self-Publishing Pro live stream over the presidential debate. We appreciate that. All of you who are apolitical out there.
We always schedule on the debates nights.
It's
It
true.
seems
So
like.
Yeah,
far,
we had
we
a
had it just
live
random.
stream for the last one too. And if there's a third debate, we're gonna have a live stream that night too. Just count on it.
Maybe November 5th for the election. We'll do
Yeah,
one.
there we go. All right, let's dig down into it, guys. Welcome to Self-Publishing Pro Q&A. We are here to answer your questions, not just about self-publishing and we'll take any general question in that regard, but about the course too, Self-Publishing Pro. This is our second time running this course. It's had a few revisions, had a few updates. And that's the plan with these courses, is that as information changes, as technology changes, well, not so much technology, but like core principles and ideas of how to go about the marketing of it, the printing of it, the distribution of it. We plan on updating this course as is. So we are excited to talk about it. First things first, I wanted to kind of get into some of the, I guess, the reasons why you would self-publish and how to kind of, I guess, what divides or what are the core, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
Attributes.
the attributes of a self-publisher. All right. So I figure we get into that first, and then we'll go from there. And if you do have a question, in the chat, just go title question so we can easily scroll through the chat and see it. If you use all caps, even better.
Yeah, like question colon and then your question.
Yeah. And then put your question in. So we'll do that. First, number one, I'll go, we'll each take turns talking about it, but I think the first thing why you should self-publish and attributes of a self-publisher is you you have an idea that is maybe not very mainstream, but has an audience. Okay. So for example, I'm going to show you.
Where'd he go?
Jake has left the building.
Yep, I'm right here.
There he is. There he
I'll
is.
show you my book series, Robots and Spaceships. Okay. Robots, spaceships, maybe somewhat of a niche topic. Not everybody's into spaceships, not everybody's into robots. But these books have an audience sort of built into them, but they're not books that like a publisher would initially be interested. They'd have to see some sort of sales metric or some sort of promise that these things are selling well, or there's enough of an audience there for them in order for them to pick them up. These books are a little bit unique in that I combine three different kinds of books to make one book, and a publisher sometimes has a hard time marketing those types of books because they like to put things in boxes. So they want to know, there's a story about the guy who made the Leatherman multi-tool, right? And this has a nice parallel to publishing. And there's this guy who's a tool. He's like a metal worker, right? And he had this idea, like, I really wish I had like a super deluxe pocket knife that had all of the tools in it. I need pliers, I need a saw, I need, all the, if you ever had one of those tools or messed with them, all the little things on there. And so he designed a prototype, and he's like, I want to see if I can get a manufacturer to make these and distribute them. So he goes to the pocket knife companies, and the pocket knife companies, each one of them say, we can't do this. This is not a pocket knife. This is a tool. You should go talk to the tool companies. So he goes to the tool companies, and they're looking at it and they're like, this is not a tool. This is more of a pocket knife. You should go talk to the pocket knife company. So he's in this like spiral of, what do I do? Where do I take this thing? And he decided, you know what? I know there's a market out there. I know there's people who need this and want this. You can't put it in a one box, but that people don't care about that. So I'm going to do it on my own. The rest is history. Leatherman, he ended up inventing his own sort of like genre of, I guess, tools don't have genres, his own sort of market for tools. And that's the same thing with publishers, is they want to know, is this a book for girls? Is this a book for boys? Is this a bedtime book? Is this like a happy time book, right? Is this a mystery? Is this a science fiction thing? And if you have an idea that doesn't fit neatly into one of those, but still there's like there's appeal to it, and then there's an audience to be found for it, self-publishing might be the thing for you. And so that's sort of like my first thing in thinking about self-publishing. It's look at your idea, see where it might not fit, and your next job is to figure out how to find that audience.
And sometimes I want to add that, they're looking for to put it in that category. Sometimes the reason you'll get rejected is because it does fall in that category. For example, I did a dummy for a children's book about a year ago, actually now, and it just the loose background, the backstory, the thread of the thing had to do with dreams. And when my agent pitched that book, they said, "Oh, dream books aren't selling very well. So no one can write a dream book. There's nobody,
Yep.
there's no stamp. If your book has to do with a dream, it will automatically be rejected." That's what they told me.
Dream books aren't selling until they sell, and then everyone wants a dream
Right.
book.
Oh, got to get the dream book now. And it's arbitrary what they do, and those little rules that they make, and I'm sure they come from somewhere, like some little metric, and then all of a sudden they just brand a whole side of our industry or a whole topic. It's silly.
Okay, does one of you want to do another attribute of a self-publisher, or why you should self-publish?
Why? Let me do one. Can you give me
Okay.
sharing screen?
Yeah,
Screen sharing.
let's invite sharing screen into the meeting. Here you go.
All right. So this is, I actually look for one. I don't have one down here in my office, but this was one of my highest hopes in publishing. I've done over 30 children's books for big publishers, and this one the Bonaparte Falls Apart did really, really well, to the point where Penguin Random House had it behind their reception area as one of 10 children's books of that year. And I've gotten really good royalties off of this book. And Marjorie Kyler, who wrote it, did a great job. And I really wanted her to write a second book that was as good and that had just, the same chance of making it. And I didn't know what she was going to write. I knew she was working on a second one. I actually submitted an idea to the publisher because I was worried that she would come up with an idea that wasn't as good. Because I really cared about this series, right?
Right.
And I've always wanted, I've been jealous of some of the series books that have have become household franchise, like Skippy John Jones books and stuff like that, where it's just you get to do one after another. If you give a mouse a cookie, if you give a moose a muffin, those kinds of things, right? And you're kind of set once it, yeah, Diane, it's a great concept. It's really cute. I came up with an idea and my publisher loved it, but they were like, it doesn't really work this way. And I'm like, I know, but I want this series to do so well that I wanted to feed you guys an idea just in case you don't like the idea she comes up with. And you don't even have to tell her that I came up with it. It can be our little secret. You could feed it to her and I won't tell her. And they were like, And I knew I was probably stepping on toes by doing that. Anyway, her idea was Bonaparte plays ball. Now, it's a baseball book. Here, let me stop sharing so you can actually see it a little bit better. It's a book on baseball. So we had a Halloween book and we followed it up with a baseball book, which mine was a Christmas story, right? So it's like Halloween, okay, then
Yeah.
Christmas.
Right.
I don't know where baseball came from. In fact, Marjorie told me that she's not even a baseball fan, that she just had an idea one day to write a baseball book. And it just didn't sell. I mean, like, how many kids are into baseball versus Halloween or
Right.
Christmas, right?
Right.
That's my theory. I did the best that I could on it. It's a cute story, but it killed the series. And it was so frustrating to me that I could have what I thought was a good idea. And my options really were to write my own stories and submit them to publishers, or write my own stories, write my own ideas, make my own things, and then take them directly to market and let people with wallets vote on it. And because I've gotten to a place in my career where I can afford to self-publish, it has been, I'm in love with what I get to do now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll if we have time, I'll share what I'm working on, the current project, which will also be updated to the class as a case study because I think it's worthy of going in the class.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's one of my big reasons is control.
Right. We did get a question, and I don't, last time we did a live stream, we kind of waited a little long on questions, and I think people got got a little impatient. So we'll just take them as we come, and then we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming here. But John asks, how has AI impacted this industry and this topic? So, essentially what has happened in self-publishing with AI is you have about 1 million grifters coming in here, slapping together a book in a weekend, putting it out there, and none of them are selling, right? And the reason
I should add that they're doing it the quickest way possible and the cheapest way possible, and they're just going straight to direct to print.
Yeah.
So there's no cost involved, and you can tell. And so it's flooding the market, but not with anything that anybody cares about.
Can I throw in a really quick caveat there?
Yeah.
Sure.
That is that Amazon now makes you disclose whether you're using AI images. And the theory that a lot of self-publishers have is that they're not promoting those books as much. Now, is that happening or not? I don't know, but they do make you disclose that.
Right. Yeah. So what I think in the long run, even in the short run, is no one's going to have a runaway success with an AI book. Yeah, maybe one person, right? What people are really looking for is something that is thoughtful, that is bespoke, that has a human hand seen in it.
Did you say bespoke?
Yeah, bespoke. Go look it up. I want to share one of these projects. This is from an alumni of ours who took Children's Book Pro, followed that up with Self-Publishing Pro, and today launched her Kickstarter for her picture book, for her children's book. So she's combining two of our courses into one. It's called Storm Trucks, a picture book about facing fear. And this has got a great sort of hand-torn style. This is not something you're going to see from AI. Excellent You know, she's really nailing the layouts on the book, nice colors and everything. But look at this Kickstarter, how well it is laid out, how well it is presented, how each one of these tiers is like very thoughtful and builds upon the other. This is a children's book on Kickstarter, which traditionally haven't done as well as other projects, but she's already $660 on her first day, 19 backers. And I'd say by tomorrow, you know, if she can keep that up, this thing's going to definitely fund before the end of it. And she'll have her book, she'll have the money to print her book. And then she can take that book and, you know, find shops that are going to want it, you know, indie shops. She can put it on her website and sell those books off. And I just want to show you that this is what's actually possible with the stuff we're teaching you guys in there's Charlotte herself in our Self-Publishing Pro and Children's Book Pro projects or courses. We'll get to you in just 1 second, Lee. There's just one more question here, and then we'll have you go next. Okay, Lee?
Yep.
Okay, this is from Thomas. He says, does self-publishing impact your relationship with publishers? No, it impacts projects that you might take to a publisher, but it really doesn't impact your relationship with publishers. In fact, one of the recent calls I had with not just my agent, it was like two agents. It was a Hollywood agent and a literary agent. And we were all talking together about this book proposal that I had. And one of the things he said was, he said, right now, the marketplace can't take risks. They don't want to spend money on risks. And so they're only going to want to spend money on sure bets. How do they know something's a sure bet? Does the author creator of this have 1 million followers on YouTube or something like that, like a very substantial audience? Does the project that they're bringing to us already have a built-in fan base? How do you get a built-in fan base for something that you're just proposing out of the blue? That's impossible. The only way you can get a built-in fan base for something is if you've been self-publishing it, if you've been sharing it online, whether it's digital publishing or whether it's traditional publishing. But you have to build out this fan base first, and then you could say, look, this particular project has 2,000 readers with the potential for 10xing that. If you look at this track record, and you got to sell it, right? But essentially, I don't see it impacting your relationship with publishers too much in the negative, unless you have self-published projects that are like bad, right? But if you have good, people are always looking for good, successful stuff. And that's the point of us teaching these classes, Children's Book Pro and Self-Publishing Pro, is to help you guys make good stuff. I don't want to see crappy projects out there. And from the get-go, we're like trying to show you guys, here's how you make a good thing.
Yeah. I tell you, it takes so much time and effort and some money too, to do a self-published project that's why I don't worry about AI, because you're already dealing with, if somebody's using AI, they've already gone the shortest, quickest way they could to make an image. And so they did it really quick. They have no passion for it. And now they're left with what we're going to teach you guys in this class, which is how to build an audience, how to market something, how to store something, how to ship something, how to print something, and all that stuff. Nobody's going to do that for AI. And so it's sort of almost self-regulating, in my opinion. We say it a lot in the course, actually, that making the work is one of the easier parts. I know, like, probably a lot of you guys who haven't done a self-published project have spent a lot of time thinking about images. That's what we always talk about, and what color are you using and what materials are you using and all. It's all about the art, right? At a certain point in your career, I know this is probably going to sound crazy if you're having been doing it for a ton of time, but the images won't be the hard part anymore. The images will come easy. And then you're sitting here with, 25 images that go with a book. Now what do you do with it? That's the hardest part. And that's what this class is all about. And I guarantee you, somebody who's pressed a button in Midjourney 10 times and now has 10 nice images will have no idea what to do with it. So I'm not worried about that too much.
Yeah, I'm not worried about AI taking over anytime soon, there will be people who make money using AI. There will be some. There'll be
Some,
few and far between. And the big publishers aren't looking to use people that are using AI art. It's the smaller companies that you probably don't want to work with anyway if
right.
you're not doing self-publishing. But if you're self-publishing, like I'm working with a marketing company right now, and I'm part of a it's not a Discord, but it's another platform like Discord. And I
Mhm.
see what other people are working on um that are using the same marketing plan. And I'm seeing a lot of people using AI generated images, but they're mostly the lesser projects, you know. They're
Mhm.
the higher end projects are hiring artists because there's right at least for right now, AI imagery kind of you can kind of tell. You
Looks
look at
cheap.
it and yeah, it's slick, it's overly slick, it's overly polished, it's overly rendered. It's like surreally rendered. And a lot of if if you have a distinct style that you're going for, you know, like on my pickleball Paul books, I made the art, especially not, you know, it does not look like AI art, right? And on the game that I'm working on right now, which I'll just share that really quick.
Nice
Um,
commercial for Will right now.
what's that?
Nothing.
I'm working on a game called Wicked Christmas. It's not that Christmas is bad, it's poking fun of the commercialism of Christmas. But I make the art to look hand drawn, and it is hand drawn. And I think that if you have really good art, like one of the comments I get all the time on our Facebook ads is um I'm in it for the art. I love it. I love the art. I'm in, you know. So, and I don't see people doing that with AI art. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents
Yeah.
in there on the AI thing.
All right, Lee, do you have one of why you should self-publish?
Yeah, just attributes of a self-publisher. We've kind of hit on different aspects of this same thing, but if you've worked commercially, like when you're a student, you're making images and you just think, oh my gosh, I wish I could get a client. I wish my book could be on a shelf, and you get that. And it's an awesome feeling. It's great. But after you do enough of them, you start to dread the process of you submit the work the way that you think it should be, and then they vote on it by committee, and it comes back, and all of a sudden you got all these notes on it, all this stuff, and you're like, well, I made the book. I'll give you a concrete example. Actually, one of my friends sold a book that she was so passionate about, and she got a great advance for it. There was actually a bidding war for it, and she was
Nice.
super excited. And by the time the book came out, it was not the book that she actually wrote. It had been revised and revised and revised. So she was happy to have her name on it, sort of. But then it
Mhm.
comes out and it's not that feeling. But again, when you do your own thing, all of a sudden you can add the little things that nobody would let you do before. There's a certain amount of, I don't want to say control freak, but I'm passionate about making things the way that I think they should be made. When I first started art school, that was my driving sort of light, is make beautiful things that you care about. And so
Mhm.
look at this box. This is a tarot deck box. It didn't go with my last one. It was just a prototype that I had built. Um, would a publisher ever say, hey, yeah, let's go with a super bulky, heavy to ship, expensive to make box? No, they don't think that way. But I do think this way. I mean, if 100 people end up with a cedar box that is,
Mhm.
hand built, I'm happy with that.
Are you going to
Right.
use that one then?
I'm still prototyping it out. It just needs to work. I had a lot of people interested in it, but the Kickstarter was I didn't plan it long enough in advance. I didn't take this course, which I should have at that point. I didn't plan it out long enough. And so I didn't have enough lead time to
You should
ensure that I was going to get that thing built. I didn't want to sell it and not be able to deliver.
you should do a regular box, and then you should do a Kickstarter exclusive premium box that's the wooden one.
Yeah, that's exactly how I'm going to do it. Like
Okay.
Absolutely.
100 of them. I don't even know how many I can get of that, but there's a lot of little details. I don't know if you can see just the word dream that I was able to put on that in gold foil. there's no reason for it to say that. It's just because I wanted it to be there.
Mhm.
And then you get it back in the mail, and all of a sudden you're holding the thing that didn't make any sense, was probably too expensive, and it's exactly what you wanted it to be. And that's the attribute for creators. We're happy. I don't need $1 million, but I'm happy making things that I care about. Of course, if I can make $1 million and care about it, that's kind of the Venn diagram I'm hoping for.
Right.
But yeah, so that's an attribute. If you really have something that you want to see in the world, um, and I should add something, by the way. We're talking about expensive big things and boxes and books and all this stuff. But as I mentioned on the last podcast that we did about this class, like self-publishing can be something as small as, like, I launched a brush pack this year that was like 12 of my brushes. That is self-publishing.
Mhm.
It's, you have an idea, you make the thing that you're going to sell,
You
and then
bring
you
it to
sell it.
market.
And so you might think like, oh, does this class work for that? This class would absolutely work for me selling digital brushes as much as it would be for me making something that's in print. And so, when I first started thinking self-publishing, I always thought it had to be big, big, big projects. And it can be something as small as here's a sticker pack, here's a pen, here's little stuff to get you started. Matter of fact, we recommend that
Mhm.
as a way to start to sort of get your feet wet with doing all this stuff. But even us building this class is self-publishing. And so you just start to see how many places that this is applicable, and you always run into the same problem. You make the product. Now, how do you get it out in the world?
Yep. We got a couple more questions, but really quick, I wanted to share the Self-Publishing Pro page. And let me just make sure we're here. The class starts Thursday, so I think the deadline is Wednesday night, tomorrow night, if you want to get in on this class. It's $8.99. If you are if you took Children's Book Pro, contact us and we get you a discount for that. Or you can do 3 payments of $2.99. Just a couple examples of some of the books we've done. Most of you may have been to this page, but if not, we have some frequently asked questions you can check out. This is the schedule for it. So every week we're going to have a weekly meeting where we go over your questions. You're going to see you're going to watch all the lectures for that week and then come to us with your specific questions about the project that you're working on or about ideas for the projects that you're working on. And if you really want to dig in and see what you're actually getting in this course, this is weeks 1 through 9. Week 1 is the intro to self-publishing, has some killer lectures on, I think, just like how to be an entrepreneur is really mind expanding. The map, like the roadmap of how to do this, where we show step by step all the things you're gonna have to do to do your self-publishing, so you never like get lost. Like, where am I in the step? What do I do next? Right? We get into planning your project. And then these 3 weeks are fascinating. Grow your fans by building them, by borrowing them, or by buying them. And we get into deep onto how to do those 3 things. Funding your project is huge. You can see this is a big week. And then we get into production, printing, and manufacturing. Um, if you have questions about ISBNs or barcodes or printing methods or how to get quotes so you sound professional and not like some noob who's like, can I get a book printed with you? But you're like, hey, we're getting a book made, want to know, we tell you exactly how to ask those questions so you get a prompt response. And then selling and distribution. And then lastly, we close week 9 with success stories of really like a breakdown of actual projects that we've done, what went well, what went wrong, and what we would do differently or the same in the future. So yeah, if you're wanting to get in on this round, it is kicks off September 12th. I want to point out that if your plan is to self-publish a book project before the end of the year, by the end of 2024, and you haven't started it, you're too late. It's very low chance of it happening today. If your goal is to publish something in 2025, then now is the time to get started on that, start fleshing out the idea, to start bouncing ideas off of your classmate, your cohort, bounce ideas off of us. And that's why we're like running this course right now, so that you can be primed and ready to go to launch your projects and have success in 2025. Now, if this isn't the right time for you, um, the next time we're launching this course isn't until spring. And so that's going to be essentially, if you look at your schedule and you're seeing what you're wanting to accomplish in 2025 is probably going to be, whether or not you need to take this class now or later. So we want to see you there. We've got 40 people already joining us. We want to see you there as well. 40 people is a great amount because you're getting feedback from this group. You're giving help to this group. You're essentially getting built-in connections and networking in the world of self-publishing, and it just makes it better. So, questions? Should we take the next question?
Yeah, let's take one from Brianna.
Go for it, Will.
If I'm working with an author and I'm a rhetorical illustrator, would we have to self-publish, or is there an agent who would work with us as a team? In 99% of the time, an agent does not want to take on an illustrator and an author together, and publishers most often don't either. There are definitely books that have where an author and illustrator have come together, made a project, and taken it to a publisher. But in general, they frown on that. The publishers really pride themselves in making that match. They don't want you doing it for them. So my answer to that question would be, you're looking at self-publishing if you've already decided to work with an author.
Yeah. Next question.
Well, let me answer this other one just real quick. It's just a comment. It says from Yiming Wu. It says the thing about me is I don't really have a topic, a story for my drawings. I typically do somewhat random drawings in a coherent theme and design context. It probably won't sell. Don't sell yourself short. It's when I first came to self-publishing, it had to be about a book or this big story, a movie kind of idea. If you have individual drawings, that's why I started doing art fairs, which is also self-publishing. You're finding the venue and you're going there and you put up a bunch of random stuff and you sell it. And then I started looking at all my random stuff when people would go to the art fairs. And that's how I came up with this book, which is it's a book of random drawings that I did. So it doesn't have to have a story that's necessarily, there's like a picture book does with a thread that goes through it with a character interacting in a story arc. Yeah, like Will's is perfect. Yeah,
there's no story here. It's just my random fan art pictures that I did.
Yeah, so all you need to do is find some big broad theme. It could be a season. It could be like Will did his, the characters and stuff. It doesn't take much, is my point.
I want to ask, put a book emoji in the chat if you have an idea for that you want to self-publish at some point. I'm just to get a feel for this group here. While we're waiting for that, Austin asks, when developing characters, do you guys write down your initial thoughts that you have for the character before starting the sketching process? Every artist sort of comes at this in different ways. And I can't speak for all three of us, but for me personally, I start with the visuals first, and then I come up with ideas afterwards. Like I kind of answer those questions afterwards. In Children's Book Pro, we have an entire character design unit for a week, right? Where we talk about how to develop a character. We approach it from a few different directions. One is filling out a sheet. Like we have a character sheet where you figure out what this character wants, where they're from, what they look like, all that stuff. And you fill that out first, and then you do a drawing to match it. And the other approach is to draw the character first, what appeals to you visually, and then go and fill out that sheet afterwards. John says, if I don't have experience or the artistic talent at this time, would I be better off taking more of your art courses before jumping into a self-publishing class? What do you guys think?
It depends on if you have a project in mind that you think you can pull off. I mean, there's like, if you look at like Exploding Kittens by Matthew Inman, he doesn't have, he raised $8 million on Kickstarter. He doesn't have really good drawing skills, and he never trained as an illustrator. So it more matters like, can you pull off the project that you want to pull off? If you feel like you need better artistic skills to see the vision through that you have, then yeah, you probably would be better off doing some of our other art courses first.
Yeah, our foundations course is magnificent for taking you from very rudimentary level of ability to something resembling professional work, right? And to and it's like a 23 or 24 um classes that you take in a specific order that all build on top of each other. So you're not learning something in class 5 that you didn't go over already in class 4. You know, it's going to help you. So I would definitely check into that. Check that
Mhm.
out. What else do
We
we got?
did. There's another one that's along the same lines as that last question. That's why I want to tie it in. Um, it was a question via email that came in, but similar. It said, I've been a 3D rendering contractor, architecture, and industrial work for some time now, but I have no real experience in 2D digital artwork. Do you think this course may be over my head? I should get more work under my belt with the digital courses before taking the self-publishing class. So a similar kind of question. I think you need to be in the ballpark before taking this class. That said, the one little caveat there is sometimes learning what the process is can change the direction of the art.
Right.
So you really do got to weigh it out. You do have lifetime access to this, and this is not a class on, okay, let's go into Kickstarter account. Now click this button and this button and this button and turn this on. It's not a software class. This will work no matter
Yeah.
when you come back to it. If you draw for 2 years after taking this course and then decide, okay, now I'm ready to do it, this class will still be here and the information will be exactly the same. I mean, it'll be
Yeah.
valid.
Well, it'll be updated too. Like
Will be
if
updated.
you'll have the latest version of it. If you know, if we come in and there's like we're adding another lecture for this round about publishing or a printer
Mhm.
option that wasn't available the first time. So we want to talk about specifically a new sort of service that's available now and show
Mhm.
you how to use that. So
Really,
so
what
the
we're can I jump in?
yeah, go for it.
Really, what we're doing in this class is we're accelerating your learning. So, like a lot of
Yeah.
people do Kickstarters or do self-published books, and they'll do the first and the second, and they're learning as they do it. Um, my first Kickstarter failed. I would equate my first Kickstarter to that little play school car, that
Mm,
plastic car that kids get in and you pedal it with your feet. You
yeah,
know,
kind of like the Flintstones.
yeah, like the Flintstones one, right? There's no pedals. You just go along, and it failed. The Kickstarter that I'm working on now is like a Ferrari, and we show you how to do that so that you d- if you do fail, it's probably because you didn't take our advice. But like if you do it on your own, you'll probably have to go through all the failures and learning. Failures are good.
Hmm.
Failures are really good for teaching you things, but they're really painful and they can be really expensive. And we're hoping that we limit your failures or at least make your projects more successful than they would have been by giving you the information that you need to not
Hmm.
make the same mistakes. And there's so many people that are that I've talked to, like if I had only known this or if I had only known that, and we put that stuff in this class.
Yeah. Question about from Thomas about the ideal length of a book in pages: 32, 40, 48, 56, 64. This is such a open-ended question because it depends on the book, right? If you're doing a children's book, it's 32 pages,
Or
um,
40.
or 40, right?
Or 64.
No, well, depends on the book, right? Uh,
Well, see I mean, that's one of the sort of the arbitrary places that we've been in the past is like, okay, how many pages is a children's book?
Mhm.
Well, how many pages does the publisher tell us it has to be? Like
Right.
I was
Right.
thinking that it'd be awesome to have a children's book that's roughly 32 pages, but then after that, have a bunch of the art for the character development, kind of sort of like the art of books.
Hmm.
And so now it's a 64-page book with half of it being the story and half of it being the development.
Yeah.
Well, I can do that now.
Well, and the
So
crazy thing is if you go print on demand from Amazon, which I did with Pickleball Paul. I mean, I have the hardcovers, but I also have the print on demand soft covers from
Hmm.
Amazon. You can choose whatever page length you want.
right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the sort of the Wild West in the best way possible. Your book should be as long as you think it should be.
Yeah.
Hmm. And
Did you?
size, he also asked about size.
Hmm.
The reason I went with an 8.5 by 11, that's what this is book, or it's actually 8 by 10, is because I checked with my printer and this was the cheapest picture book that they would do. Anything smaller wasn't really fitting in with picture books,
Hmm.
and anything larger costs substantially more. So this felt
Well,
like a good
and
size.
the other thing that you'll learn about quite a bit in our class is the parameters of a project may dictate how many pages are in there. For example, every page you add adds weight. Well, weight adds to shipping, and
Hmm.
shipping can cause you the biggest headache of your life.
Yeah.
So you gotta weigh it all out,
And then there's
literally.
printing signatures too,
Mhm.
where it's in sets of 16, right? And some people, that's something I didn't know. And I designed early on, I designed a book that was like 32 or what was it, like 28 pages. And
They're like, no,
and
it's
they're
not
like, well, what are you going to do with the extra 4 pages? I'm like, what are you
Right.
talking about?
right. Yeah, it's
So,
part of the process, in other words.
right. Did you answer Celso Texiera's question about do you recommend taking this class when we're on the initial stages? Was that when you were
Yeah,
speaking
yeah,
to?
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
the
that's
one
what I
that
thought.
Will had that one,
Yeah.
but then the other
Gotcha.
guy asked a very similar question. But
Yeah, I was reading.
any time is okay, I would say, but might
Yeah.
be nice to be close to the project so you can use it one to one. That said, we want to caution against, if you've got a project that you are ready to go on, that you think you're going to be one to one with the weeks that we're doing. Like, say you're going to do everything in week one, everything in week two, and by the end of week 10 you're already launching the Kickstarter. That's going to be very, very difficult,
Yeah.
because we
Well,
give you
and
so much.
can I go back to, I don't think we really did dive into
Yeah, go ahead.
Celso's question. That if you're towards the end, closer to the finish line, there'll probably be a lot of decisions that you made that you'll wish you had made different decisions after taking the class. So I would say it's better to take the class when you're in the initial stages
Hmm.
of
That's a
thinking
good
of a
point.
project. Um, yeah, there's like, because we talk a lot in the class about when you choose your project, to choose it with a an audience in mind that you know that you can find a market to.
Right.
So there's like the big publishers are mass market, broad appeal. Sure, they have niches that they put their books in, but their niches are hundreds of thousands of or millions of people that are potential customers. Whereas self-publishers typically do better if we carve out niches that the big publishers aren't going after. Case in point would be um, someone in the equestrian industry, a children's book for directed to people who own horses. That's a pretty small group, right?
Hmm.
I mean, and so yeah, publishers might make a book with where a horse is the main character, but if you're
Hmm.
in the equestrian world, or if you're in the children with diabetes world, or if you're in a world of a group of people that you know very well and you know what they like and what they don't like, they'll really appreciate a book done by one of their own. And that's
Yeah.
one of the things that we really try to stress is, so like if you're towards the end of your project, you've already chosen it and it's mass market, and you take our class and you go, oh, maybe I should have had more of a focused niche.
Right. I feel like that question is viewing self-publishing and this course as, oh, I'm just going to learn how to get a book printed and distribute it. And That's with an emphasis on publishing, and this course really puts the emphasis on self. We're going to show you how to find yourself in your project. We're going to show you how to take that idea from something that you're interested in, find where it overlaps with the community, and take it on to success. Diane says, or no, Yimi says, uh, where is it? I might try enrolling just for the sake of the community. And I want to point out that, the price tag of this course, I'd say half of it is for the educational content. The other half clearly is for the community. I think that's where a ton of the value lies. Because how often have you been working on a project by yourself, just stumped and lost? No idea who to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you post it online, crickets online. Well, post it in the Discord for this, and you're going to get responses. You're going to get thoughtful people, really caring and thinking about it. Then every Thursday, you're going to get to ask us a question, and you're going to get a professional talking to you as well. So if that's something that is at all appealing to you, then you definitely have to consider this course. Do we got another question, or we got them all?
I think we're getting to most of them.
Cool.
We have seen people. I don't know if we've talked about this, talking about community, but we've had a ton of people, and especially in Children's Book Pro, come together as a group, and then they created long lasting crit groups that lasted, way past the time of the class. And so we would love to. We're going to try to encourage that for self-publishing pro as well. You find a handful of people making something similar to what you're making. That is a powerful group, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. We're probably gonna wrap it up here pretty soon. So if you do have a question, shoot it over to us in the chat. I just wanted to point out one other thing. Let me pull that up, screen share here. I just wanted to go specifically into one of the weeks that we teach on selfpublishingpro.com. Again, you just type in self-publishing pro, it'll take you straight to this page. But I want to point out, you could kind of see here some of the other things that come with this course is you're going to get obviously the PDFs of the lectures, so you can click through those as needed. But we have the sort of the project PDFs where you're going to be shown how to manage a project, how to sort of figure out what your potential, based on the audience that you've been building, borrowing and buying, what the potential for that Kickstarter or however you're planning on funding this, it could be. You can see here the self-publishing map. I'm going to zoom in there. This is where it's broken down into 3 sections. There's the production section, the marketing section, and the community section. And so we explain our philosophy on how to build those things. And if you go into down here, I think one of the best lecture weeks that we have is this planning your project week. Lecture 1 for that week is Lee's lecture, easing into it, starting small. Some of you have been talking in the chat about making zines. And one of our big emphasis is that something we emphasize in this course is the minimum viable project, right? You don't have to start with an epic Lord of the Rings trilogy. You can start with a short story, right? About a hobbit. You don't have to do a big thing. And in fact, it's preferable to start a little bit small so that you could test the market out and see if they're really, validate this idea that you have. Timelines and planning. This is definitely something that if you guys are, if you're already having an idea of something you want to do, this is going to make that more efficient. So you can fold it into everything else that you have going on. How do you build your project? It's another big lecture. I forget who teaches that one, but I know Will teaches the building the team lecture. So you don't have to do this on your own. You can partner up with somebody. You can farm out some of the work to 4 or 5 other people, right? Depending on what your budget is, depending on who wants to be involved in your project. And in fact, sometimes that's great. Like right now, how many people are you working with on your card game, Will?
I'm working with Anthony, who I took on as an assistant, who's a graphic designer, and he was one of our SVS students.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm working with a marketing team. But
Right.
but yeah, I was gonna do the whole thing by myself, and then I realized I was a little in over my head on the graphic design, and it just it's weird how things happen. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had like a lot of people in our classes that have become lifelong friends, and it's like, and that's really like that's always happened for me.
Yeah.
Like that's how the three of us ended up working together too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's really hard to do these things completely by yourself. Sometimes you can, and I've done some of my projects by myself, but boy, is it nice to work with someone else that you can bounce ideas off of. And like we've made so many changes to our project because I have my wife too, but we will all talk and kind of sometimes I think my ideas are good and they're not. And they need to be,
Mm-hmm.
they need to be changed. And it's good to work with other people. Now, I might, on that same note, I might just add that, like on this, what they don't teach in art school book that I did and launched it on Kickstarter, I hired a graphic designer to do this one, and I, I also hired an editor, and so, and then I hired out the shipping too. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
created the book, I created the content for the book, but I basically managed the project in getting it out there, getting it done. And we
Right.
talk about that in the class as well.
Last question from Thomas, and a related question from Austin. Austin just asked if you'll have access to this course after it's over with in the future. Yes. Just for whoever didn't hear us talking about that earlier, this is a sort of a lifetime access type situation. So again, if you need to come back, you need to push pause on this, come back 6 months later, it's here for you to go through. And we're going to have a situation set up with SVS Learn where you could sign up for sort of weekly office hours where you can pop in and ask questions even after this course is over.
So you're 6 months or a year down the road, or
Yeah, yeah,
a year and a half, 2 years,
right.
and you are finally ready to start your project, or maybe you got delayed, you can jump into that.
Mhm. But if you're thinking 2025 is your year, that's the year you're going to do it, you're going to make that book, put out that thing, then I highly recommend you sign up for it now because you're going to be all set up and ready to go to have that thing like go off like a rocket in 2025. Thomas says, is the Kickstarter campaign where the product will mainly be sold? That depends. That really depends on what sort of distribution channels you have set up after the Kickstarter. Um, Lee, I know with your tarot deck and Will with your um, cards, your get card game, like
Hmm.
the Kickstarter is just the start. It
Right.
really is just the start.
Yeah, we're going to be targeting game stores and Christmas year-round stores.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean
Ideally,
it's a good point that the campaign that you're doing is really is just to make the product itself. I mean,
yeah,
if you get profit, that's a bonus, but if you get the product, well,
Mhm.
yeah,
now you're starting with it
and
with zero cost.
we haven't even launched our Kickstarter for the game yet, and we've got two stores that have already asked about carrying it.
Wow.
So
That's good. It's
yeah,
going to be a big one. And you
but
guys are going
with
to get to see it live, right? When does
yeah, it
your
launches
thing goes
October
live?
1st.
Oh
But with
man.
this one, I didn't sell any of these on Kickstarter. This was direct to
Mhm.
the audience, and I have a sales guy. I made a YouTube series on these books. I actually did a second one too, on the missing paddle. But I made a YouTube series, and I have a sales guy, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make that book was I had a friend who already did sales, direct sales at pickleball tournaments. And I'm like, would you want to, if I made a book, a children's book, would you want to sell it at pickleball tournaments? Yes, I would love to sell it at pickleball tournaments. Okay, now I have at least one part of the marketing kind of solved, and he sells a case a week. So
That's cool.
yeah.
I said that was the last question, but one more came in. Do you talk about, this is from the Cyber Yak. Do you talk about, I love that name, by the way.
Me too.
Do you talk about project organizations in this course? Say we have more than one project idea and determining which one to go with. Yeah, absolutely. That's early on in the course is we're talking about how do you come up with an idea? How do you find, where's the market, the people for that idea? How do you validate that idea in a simple way or in a fundamental way? And then steps to move that idea along through the whole process. So if that's something that you feel like you need a little bit more help in, this course is definitely for you. Okay, I think that's it. Should we wrap it up?
Let's wrap.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Thanks for
thank you.
joining us, guys.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Thanks for
Yeah, thanks
joining
a lot.
us. I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to end
We'll
the
see some
stream.
of you in class.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to
Next
see
week,
some of
right?
you in class. Again, it's selfpublishingpro.com. Let me just put that in the chat there. Here we go.
Thomas says praise for fixing the technical issues. It was actually Lee's wife that figured it out. So
Somehow,
it
and she
wasn't
did
the
it. She
three of
figured it
us.
out by accident too. It was in
Right.
it was in a totally other area where this problem was happening in the back end of YouTube, and she just happened to be there, and she clicked a button, and like it worked.
All right, I'm going to turn it off. See you guys.
Bye,
All
guys.
right.
All right,
It's
later.
ended. See you.